So okay, I'm Sal Hunter. I'm the outlaw on Medium. I write about being late diagnosed autistic, and this is my spouse, Ethan Hunter. He is late identified autistic, self-diagnosed. And we were going to talk about what it's like to be late diagnosed, how that changes your life, how that has affected our marriage, strengths and challenges that we have in our marriage, being autistic. Yeah.
We're very different types of autistics.
Yes, we are.
She's the chatty Cathy type, and I am the submarine type, deep beneath the surface.
Right.
So sometimes we have a bit of difficulty interacting with one another, and that's one of the major challenges and opportunities to overcome obstacles between us. And for any other couples out there who are in a relationship, I hope that we can find some opportunities to maybe give you some help, hints, clues, helps in your own relationship, because it's not easy sometimes. So go for it, click it.
There we go. So are you sure that we're on? Because we're supposed to see people's questions. Is this where we go?
I guess.
Bear with us. We are new to this. Okay. So I guess I suspected when I was in my 20s that I was autistic, but the classic presentation of autism didn't really fit me, so I just rejected that notion and thought about it off and on for years, but mostly just went on with my life, but struggled a lot, and we struggled in our marriage because I was we both didn't know, but I think I struggle more with autism than you do. I think I have more challenges, maybe.
I think it's one of those gendered things, where women are expected to be very social and men are typically expected to be strong and resilient and very, characteristically manly. And so, as men, we can get away with it to a certain extent that we're expected to be very terse and, it's very straightforward.
Right. You can be stoic, and women are people who are assigned female at birth. I identify as non-binary. We are supposed to smile a lot. I mean, I was told so many times, "Oh, smile." It was the most obnoxious thing ever because, we tend to have a flat affect and this weirds people out. And, you can't always, we're kind of inscrutable sometimes. You can't always tell what we're thinking. But when you're masked, you hide, or you try to hide. I wasn't always very successful at hiding my autistic traits. So yeah, and you're never really fully yourself. And so yeah, I always felt like there was something missing, or like I was always expecting something to happen in the future. And then once I got diagnosed, that feeling sort of went away. I also used to have these dreams that were like I was on stage and I couldn't remember the lines to the play that I was supposed to be in. And those dreams also stopped after I got diagnosed. So I don't know, what was the next thing we were going to talk about?
How does it affect our marriage?
Yeah. When I got diagnosed, and I started to unmask and present more authentically autistic, mostly at home, because I'm chronically ill. I don't get out a whole lot. And COVID, so, I wasn't out in public. But I started doing stims that I had kind of hidden. And, he was, I think,
I was a little weirded out, quite frankly, because you're taking all these actions, unmasking, and I had never seen before, and it was kind of like, who did I marry? Well,
I always stemmed, but I think you didn't really question a lot of them. I think maybe the rocking, I rocked a lot. I think you maybe thought that was a little bit.
It's kind of a corollary to that. I thought the rocking was related to your POTS. She has postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, and I know for a fact that that sometimes helps people in that situation. I did not interpret it at the time as a stim, but there are other things that kind of came out of the woodwork that were just like, who are you? Who did I marry?
Yeah, I have a tendency to pound my fists on my knees sometimes as a stim, and I do other things like leg bouncing and I don't know, swinging my arms around when I'm by myself. I do a lot of vocal stimming. I do some visual stimming with glitter, which he hates.
The glitter is everywhere. I kid you not. It's just, you can't escape it. It's everywhere.
I love doing, a lot of my special interests, psychology, autism became a special interest. That was a huge problem.
And the special interest kind of blossoming all over the place, and that was something else as well. Just like, wow, they're really quite, many and varied.
Well, you always commented in the past on my little obsessions, as you called them.
Yeah, she's a completionist. When she starts something, she wants to see it through.
I want to know all about it. I have information hunger. I want to know all about it. I want to just get deep into it. I'm very monotropic. For people that don't know, monotropism is when someone has the ability to hyper focus on something that's like a very narrow interest, and they are not, when they're in that state, that flow state, they are not aware very much of anything outside of that attention tunnel. But yeah, as well as the stimming, I think you got really tired of me talking about autism.
Autism is your special interest. For some people, it's in trains or, manufacturing dates of certain rare coins or what have you. But autism was definitely fully on tap for, at least a strong year. And it was interesting because it helped me kind of further my own sense of, my diagnosis, and it led me to a place where I was like, yeah, a lot of these things that she's mentioning are, in fact, traits and characteristics that, I find in myself. And I guess I kind of eventually came to realize that, yep, I'm autistic too.
Yeah, I would read him, I would read everything to him. I would talk about it nonstop. I would, it just consumed me because I was going through a lot of stuff. I was going through a lot of grieving over the lost years. It's really hard being a part of the lost generation of autism. There's a lot of trauma and decades of trauma. And a lot of that stuff, I was sort of being inundated with all of these memories. And so there's a lot of crying that he had to put up with. And just, he begged me to stop talking about autism. And I made him take all of the assessments that I was taking online, and it all indicated that he was probably also on the spectrum. And
up to this point, I'd consider myself as a high-functioning sociopath, but luckily it's just autism.
Okay, Sherlock. So I decided that I needed another outlet for this. I had developed some friendships with autistic people online that I could talk to, but even I think it was going above and beyond what they could deal with. So I decided to write on Medium. Well, I decided to blog, and then he got me on Medium. And so, yeah, that's pretty much how I started doing this. And I am shocked that people want to read what I have to write. So it's been great. So I don't know, I think we've always, we were really drawn to each other, I think, because we were both undiagnosed autistic. And we didn't know that, but we could tell that we spoke the same language. We had similar sense of humor.
Mm-hmm. I think my mother commented on
yes, your mother said you both have the same weird sense of humor. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, thank you.
Yes.
That
was not a compliment.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, aside from mother issues.
So, well, even weirder was the conversation that your mom and my mom had about my teeth. That was so strange.
Very strange.
I have extraordinarily strong teeth, but so where were we?
Well, I guess, we were kind of leaning into kind of our marriage and how, we find certain things difficult and have difficulties trying to overcome the obstacles of autism and kind of still blend together as.
Yeah, I think you always need a lot of alone time, and I have a really hard time with that. And so that is a challenge for me. And then
and you're a very social person, and you're very happy to talk about anything at length,
Yeah, and I think I'm better at small talk than you are.
And I'm very much always in my head, kind of like a submarine, or a grand chest.
Well, I can get really into my head too. I mean, that's just being autistic. We tend to live in our heads, but a lot because we have spider webbing thoughts, and they just go off in all different directions. And, so I don't know. I think we complement each other pretty well because my strengths are different than yours.
Yeah, and I've kind of got this Germanic sense of time, and I'm always kind of like Mr. 12 steps ahead, what's the next thing in the process.
Yeah, with having autism and also I believe that I'm ADHD. I'm not diagnosed, but I have terrible time blindness. So he keeps track of all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I help you with like your interactions in your job, like writing emails and things to try to like soften the edges of the things that
but one of the
you
many
say.
Charming side effects of autism is bluntness.
Right.
Most neurotypicals do not appreciate that on average, but it is just one of the many charming traits that we have.
Yeah, you're very.
I mean, it works out.
You're more blunt than I am, I think. Well, I don't know. I can be blunt with people sometimes.
I think it works out in our marriage because we can directly talk about things.
Yeah, we're very direct. So we, if there are issues, we address them, and we don't tend to let them fester for very long.
Yeah.
But because we're both kind of very intense, emotional, autistic people, that can sometimes get out of control.
Yeah, it gets a little Italian sometimes,
Is that?
I don't know if that's a bad thing.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So, I think.
Well, I think we've filled up 15 minutes so far. Should we open up to the audience?
I mean, if anybody has any questions, please go ahead and ask.
Our lines are open.
Yeah.
For first-time callers. Anything you ever wanted to ask, feel free.
I mean, being autistic is like constantly taking in input of everything. You can't ignore things. I can't ignore. I'm very sound sensitive, so there's a lot of complex. It's not necessarily always the volume of the sound, it's the complexity of the sound. And some people are very shocked because they'll see that like I am upset about, the air conditioner, what is it called? Compressor.
Yeah, the air conditioner
on the house next door to us. It's very loud, and that will bother me. But then I'll turn around and I'll listen to, like some music from the 90s, very loud. And
you guys remember CC Peniston? Yeah.
I don't think that was one of them. But yeah, so
You've got the power.
Okay. So
I've got the power.
Yeah,
Sorry.
people don't understand.
It's going to be in my head.
You're echolaliaing over here, echolalia. People are shocked by that I can, handle that. But when I have control over the sound, it's not as hard for me to deal with. And I think that's one of the things that you don't like is challenging for you to deal with, is that I will come in and turn off fans because they're too loud for me. They're making a thrumming noise. It's like really like inside my head and just feels like it's rattling in there.
Yeah. Oh, maybe we have a question.
Oh, okay, a question. How has the understanding that you are that you are both autistic adults strengthened your relationship? I think that I have less meltdowns than I did. Mine could be quite volatile, and I think he thought that I was, really severely mentally ill prior to this. And I do have mental illness, but it's anxiety and depression.
The background I came from, I was like living in a museum, much like Ferris Bueller, that character Cameron. It's cold and dark, and nobody really talks very much.
So I think, not having as many meltdowns, being able to prevent some of them has improved our relationship.
I think so. I would agree with that statement. Being able to realize your base nature, your underlying, condition, and saying to each other, okay, we're going to accept each other at a certain level and understand that, these meltdowns happen or these emotional outbursts happen and there's a reason. And being able to view it not so much as like an angry outburst or some kind of failing, but instead just as a core component of that person and learning how to deal with it. Actually, for me, it was learning to reach out to my wife and saying, you need help? Do you need a hug, or you just need to be heard? And that's worked out very
yeah,
successfully.
That's a really good thing that we do now. We're just really direct with each other, and we say, do you need to vent, or do you need feedback, or do you just want support? Mm-hmm. Hugs and whatever. He doesn't tend to like to be hugged as much because he doesn't like to be touched a whole lot, but he does schedule in snuggling for me because I need that sort of thing.
Her love language is touch, if you were curious.
And, at first I was like, that's not very romantic. But a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, was like, oh, your relationship doesn't have to look like neurotypical relationships. We're just different, and that's okay. Let's see. How did you go about being diagnosed? I looked in my area, and it was like going to be $3,500 for me to be evaluated. And I just was like, okay, I'm just going to self-diagnose. But I had imposter syndrome really bad. So I happened to be on TikTok, and I heard about this autistic psychologist who is in Kentucky. And he was doing telehealth adult evaluations. So I contacted him, and I got my diagnosis that way. And so it was on a sliding scale, and it was much cheaper than it typically is. There are a lot of systemic barriers to people getting diagnosed because of that. And that's why in the autism community, we accept self-diagnosis as being valid. We don't see it as being harmful to people to identify as autistic. It's not taking anything away from anybody. It's not taking any resources, and that sort of thing. So what do you see as overlap between autism versus ADHD? Oh gosh. Well, I think when you have both, it intensifies your sensitivities, and maybe even intensifies being understimulated. I don't know about that part, but it also, for me, means that I crave routine very badly, but cannot maintain it at all, and cannot sort of create that for myself. I try, but it doesn't stick. And so I do know that ADHD and autism overlap with the sensory sensitivities and sensory issues. And it can overlap with some of the, well, I don't know, maybe ADHD is more impulsive than autism is. I don't know. We're typically reticent, the autism side, but
we stand with our neurospicy brothers and sisters, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, some people don't like the term neurospicy, but I say it in the sense of fun, but you know, I don't mean to downplay very real challenges that people have. I have some very real difficulties. So yeah. Let's see. How do you scroll down here? I'm not good with tech. That's one of my difficulties. Wait.
And now somehow it opened up an entirely new window.
I know.
Lovely. Right.
Did we lose everybody?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Still 14 people ish.
You're supposed to be the tech person. You're the tech autist.
Sorry.
I'm more the arts and crafts and humanities type. See, autistic people can love you know, other subjects besides trains. He likes clocks and watches and
pens and, you know.
Like shoe shining video.
I know, it's very strange.
It's very niche.
I enjoy men's fashion.
But we do niche well. So how has this, okay, no, we already addressed that. Have either of you been able to find a similar special interest to enjoy together, or do you enjoy parallel play? Well, we do parallel play.
Initially, when we were dating, we would go out to TJ Maxx because we were so poor, and we'd sniff soaps together. I mean,
we should have known.
That is an awesome first date.
That is so stimmy. Why did you not know?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that was stimming. That's why.
Yeah.
I thought stimming was flapping your hands, which I do when I'm anxious.
And we still go to TJ Maxx and sniff the soaps. I mean, we're those people.
Yeah, to be honest, yeah.
Yeah.
But let's see, interests that we have in common. We love sci-fi. We have been watching Strange New Worlds lately, and I've been writing about it a lot on Medium, which is probably driving some people crazy. 10 out of 10. Is that what
10
you said?
out of 10.
Yeah. And we both, and Doctor Who. Well, you don't like Doctor Who. I do.
I don't like it as much as you do.
Yeah.
I like David Tennant.
Yeah.
Everyone else, no.
That's not being a true Whovian. That's what people say. So what else do we like? We like, well, I don't really do this anymore because I'm on a restricted diet for MCAS, mast cell activation syndrome. Mm-hmm. But we used to really be into international foods. We enjoyed cooking. I don't cook as much anymore.
Pho.
Our son does a lot of cooking too.
Yeah.
We have a son, and we think that he's probably autistic, considering that we both are, but he is not ready to accept that, and we have to respect that. And I'm not really going to talk too much about him.
You know, being a teenager, anything that makes you stand out is kind of not great.
Right.
You know? Unless it's standing out in a way that really ticks your parents off. And then it's like, chef's kiss.
So what else do we, what other interests do we have in common? Well, I mean, we talk about, you know, the political landscape, although I'm not really great with politics, but I have a lot of opinions. So
she does.
I don't always understand how things
she really does
work, but I think I'm getting better at that because of TikTok and other social media like Medium and all that.
Yeah.
Reading people's articles. Let's see. Are there any other questions?
Scrolling. I think that is the bottom of the barrel, my love.
No, cool.
Were there more? Did we miss some?
I think that might be it. Any other questions? We'll answer questions until 7:30. I don't know. Was there anything else we had planned to talk about? We planned everything out, but
never follow the script.
Right. The way my ADHD does is that my autistic side will plan things and then at least just, you know, script what to say, but then I'll get in the moment and I'll forget what I wanted to say. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things I forgot this evening.
Yeah. So, you know, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, we'll address them, you know. Otherwise, we can continue to talk about ourselves, which somebody literally loves to do.
Well, we could maybe talk about he has more shutdowns. I tend to melt down more often, although I did have a really big shutdown recently that was quite shocking to me. But I think you just tend to go to bed and sleep. And I think that maybe that's a shutdown for you. I don't
entirely
know.
possible. Sometimes working a job 9 to 5 it can be really stressful. And having to mask and pretend that you're somebody you're not necessarily, and it really takes it out of you. It takes the wind out of your sails, and sometimes that I'll just fall flat. And it is what it is. Got to plan around it instead of trying to fight through it, because that's even more exhausting.
Yeah. And since you work remotely now, I will spend a greater portion of the day in the bedroom, which is okay with me. I'm fine with that. I will do my writing in there with the laptop, and he'll stay, in the dining room area and work. And I do that for him because he finds me being around very distracting. And so that's the way I accommodate him. And
it kind of fits in with my sensory profile. Like I'm saying, I just like the dark, I like it quiet, I like being isolated. But my spouse here, Sal, enjoys the company of other people quite frequently, and reaching out and meeting new people isn't exhausting for her. It jazzes her up after you have a conversation
well,
with your friends.
For a while. And then it becomes overstimulating and it becomes too much.
Yeah.
Um,
Much like petting a cat, if you pet them too much, you will get a bite.
And I don't always know my limits. Like, I will get on the phone, and I have this one friend that I talk to a lot, and we'll talk for a really long time, and I will then get off the phone, and I will just be like very overstimulated, and I'll be like, why didn't I catch this sooner? Why didn't I realize that this was happening?
Yeah.
You are much better at seeing that happening with me.
It's like there's something on the face. I can see it. I know that you're going down.
Yeah. But I'm also good at telling you to go lie down because you look exhausted. So.
Yeah.
So. I don't know. Do we have any other interests in common? We do. I mean, writing. I met him at a writing workshop.
Yeah, college.
Yeah, he was in college. You were an older student. Gosh, how did we meet? Oh, right. I was a stage manager, and for one act plays, and that we met through Darren.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a crush on Darren, and I went to the writing workshop because I had this crush on him. But then I met Ethan, and
yeah, I thought she was immensely talented, and so I said, I was talking to my friend, and she was kind of there, right? As I recall, and I was like, wow, amazing. She's the one, and that really freaked her out. So, guys, definitely good approach.
And he meant the one,
as in the Matrix. She was the one person out of that group of 20 people who I thought had any talent or what.
But I thought you meant that I was
going to put the ring on the finger.
That you were in love with me instantaneously, and I was like, whoa, no.
Well, you're pretty cute.
So I friend zoned you for a long time.
She did friend zone me for a long time.
Yeah.
The Heisman, Yeah.
But then we just realized that we, hold on.
Right. Yeah. Not too much. I guess it's about time to wrap it up.
Yeah.
We've had a great conversation. Thank you all for attending so much. We appreciate Medium and this opportunity on Medium Day.
Right.
It's been absolutely fantastic. And please read my wife's blog, The Outlaw, AUTLAW, a shameless pitch from her husband. She's also planning on doing a couple more things, I think, maybe on, what's the other?
I don't know. I might be starting a newsletter on Substack. I'm thinking about that.
So.
And I've written a novel, and I'm hoping maybe to get that self-published this year. So.
And if you follow along, you'll hear more all about it. All right. So I think we're at time now. And
almost. I think we have a minute.
No, now we got a minute to fill. So now we're going to do a tap dance.
We got to just sit here and quote movies or something.
Sure, exactly. So feel free to reach out to us. I think the email is on Sal's profile, and we hope you have a great time. Thank you for joining and tuning in, if tuning is applicable in this format. Have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye.
Here, you close it. I don't know.